We've managed pretty nicely to do quite a few things with essentially one FilePro file, the VG customers file. In fact, we've been able to press E and stay in that file for quite a while. We did add the control file so we could store a unique number there and keep incrementing that number, but essentially we've been in one file, a customers file. We're going to need to go define a new file, so let me clear the file name from the top there, from the E, set file name, and let's go define another file that we're going to be using. How about if we add some invoices to this file? That'd be a good idea. Let's suppose we should call them, start with VG, and there's no reason not to call them VG invoices. Okay, it's definitely going to be a FilePro file. Don't want a creation password. All right, what do you suppose the first thing on a FilePro record should be? Well, as I've been saying, you have to be able to refer to every FilePro record with a unique number. In this case, why don't we just call it invoice number? Very most unique thing. Let's give it 6 characters. How about an integer? 6-character integer. We're going to have invoices going up from 0, essentially, or 1 to 999,999. Okay, that's fine. And let's put a save field here for no reason. Just reserving a field there. I don't know why, particularly right now. Maybe I have an idea in mind, but I'm just going to leave a blank there. Don't really need it, but I'm putting it. We're going to put a customer code, don't we? There's always going to be a customer code on every index, attached to every index. Our customer code is 8 characters, all up. And I suppose the next most important thing to a invoice would be the invoice date. Okay. Let's make that an 8 unpartial dim dy slashes. And let's see, what else do we have? Invoices can be either invoices or credit memos usually, so you want to charge them money or you owe them money. So why don't we have like a invoice type? Let's make that a one all up field. So it's either be a invoice or a credit memo. Let's see. To add other things, we think of many things to add. The first kinds of things you want to add is the cust code. Let's put another space here. The cust code is good enough to find a unique invoice and find it by the customer code and invoice number, or just by an invoice number. But generally, these days, I've been wanting to store the name and address of the customer in every invoice. It just makes lots of things easier. A lot of times it's nice to have kind of a customer file where you always keep the address, and then from the invoice file you can always get it when you need it. But I actually store the address and the company and all that stuff in the invoice file now too. So let's call this the bill. How about bill 2? Okay, and I'm just going to use this as a headings, or as a title. I'm really going to put bill 2, and here I'm going to put. I'm not going to store the last. I'm going to say contact, and I'll make that 25 characters long, and I'll put company, and I'll make that, it was 30 characters long, and I'm going to leave the edit types blank here, and I'm going to put address, that was 30, and address, that was 30. And then we had city, which is 15, I believe, and state, which is always 2, and zip, which will make 5. Okay, that's good, and reasonably similar, or almost exactly similar to our VG customers file, which is kind of what I'm shooting for. We'll put another reserve field, and this is just really to organize the file nicely. It doesn't have any other meaning than that at this point. Let's go for ship to. Maybe we're shipping this to a different place than where we're billing it to. Well, what can we use here? This is kind of tedious to keep typing in the same exact fields. Pretty much we're going to ship to the same contact, company, address, same types of fields. So how can I copy all these fields? Let me see. This field starts at 8. Okay, and it's going towards the end of the file. So I know where I am. Might as well just put my cursor here. And let me press the F8 for block functions. and then I'll say that I want to copy starting from field 8, okay, and I want to copy the contact, the company, that's 2, and the addresses are 4, city, state, zip, or 7. I want to copy 7 lines starting from field 8, okay. How many copies do I want? Well, in this case, I only want 1 copy. And where do I want to copy it to? Yes, I want to copy it to field 17. Did it do what I wanted? Yes, it did. But contact, all the same types of fields and lengths and all that stuff went there, and that's pretty good. Okay, now let's put I don't see the need to store the phone numbers on the invoices. Those can be looked up pretty easily, but names and address, you want to sort sometimes and say, how many widgets did I, sell in, New Jersey, or how many did I sell in Ohio, or you want to say, make labels on your invoices based on zip code or so forth. I'm not going to put the phone number here for either the invoice or the bill to, but now what kinds of things go on a standard invoice? Well, obviously, let's put a little R here, another reserve field. Obviously, things like what are they buying from us? Let's call it a product number or a catalog number, maybe, or a service number if you're a lawyer, or some kind of identification for what it is they're buying. Let's make that say, why don't I make it 6 characters long? We'll make it a .0 field. Why not? We'll make the product description of what they're actually buying. Let's make that 30 characters long. Not a lot of room, but we're just showing concepts here and not maybe designing precisely what you might need. Let's see, after we have the product number and the description, we might want the quantity. Let's say they might buy up to 4 of these things. Let's say 4 with a .0. That would mean they could buy 9,999 of something. That's even too much. We're not going to be selling that kind of quantities. Let's say the most they can buy of something is 3. Maybe it's hours. Maybe we're going to bill them, 140 hours. Could be we're a lawyer or a consultant or something. And the quantity, and then what's the price of what they're buying? The price, let's make it possible that we could sell something to 7.2. That would mean we could put in there a number 1, 2, 3, 4, dot, and then 2 decimal points. So we could sell something worth up to $9,999 before we have a problem. And that's fine. That's a 7.2 edit. Okay. The price. Now, what's the extension? The quantity times the price. That's usually called extension, or we call it charge to be a little bit more modern. And let's make that an 8.2. It could be a pretty big number. Okay, and what else do we usually put inside? Well, that's pretty nice. We have the same sort of situation now that we had before. We're going to sell how many line items to this person? What if we're going to sell them 2 or 3 things at once? Well, we could copy these fields in this way, all in a group like this, but there's a better way to do that, and that is, let's do it a more usable way. I'm going to do some block copies here. I'm going to copy from field 25, which I'm on. I want 1 line, 1 time, and I want to copy to field 25. That's good. Let's see what it did. You see how it made me a second one? Let me do that again. I'm going to do copy 26, 1, 1, 26. Okay, that's good. See, now I got product, product, product. And let's leave, well, let's say we may want to expand this to 5 or 6 products later, but basically we're going to allow for 3 line items to be sold on this invoice. And let's just put 0, 0, and 0. We're going to be able to expand it up to 6 lines later if we want. And then we're going to do the same thing with these other things. In other words, I put them in just to show you a quick thing. If I press 8 and block copy and then escape, escape, I get a couple of those. Press F8 and copy, I get another one. That's good. And then again, I can do the 0 thing. Well, heck, I might as well do that to this too, right? Here I am trying to copy lines. F8, escape, escape, gives me 2 R's. F8, escape, escape. Now I got 3 R's. That's good. Okay, my next thing is quantity. I'm going to do him pretty quick. F8, escape, escape, down arrow, F8, escape, escape. And now I want to copy, well, here's a simple thing. Now that I have something better to copy, I could say F8. I'm not going to. I'm not going to. I was going to change this around, so I'm going to press cancel, and I'm just going to type in a 0 like that, and I'll do F8, and escape, escape, because that's what I want one more of. Again, okay. And the last two things. To make room for it, F8, escape, escape, F8, escape, escape, okay. Another group. Heck, I'll just type them in. It's just as quick in this case because there's not much to type. Now I'm ready for the charge. Okay, so I hit F8, escape, escape, F8, and escape, escape. Okay, that gives me all these line items, but they're grouped by line items. So line item 1, when I sell something to someone, on the first line item, it's really going to be comprised of fields 25 and fields 31 and field 37 and so forth. I'm not grouping them together, and I'm doing that for a reason. Okay, after we do this, we're probably going to want to subtotal what all the line items are costing. Let's, by the way, reserve some lines here too, just in case we ever want to add more lines to our invoice. This, by the way, is a very standard hard-lined invoice. In other words, there is a hard and fast number of lines on each record that allow me to invoice. There are only three line items. This is not an unlimited invoice. It can maybe go to 6 or 10 line items, most that you could probably fit on a screen pretty easily, or 20, whatever you think you could do. But basically, this is not going to be an unlimited number of lines on this invoice. Our invoices are going to be a very small, hard limited number. And after we enter, several line items, we want to get the subtotal. So we'll make that, and we'll say the subtotal is probably, we'll make that an 8.2 field. Okay. And then after the subtotal, let's say, we might want to charge them some, put some shipping on here. Actually, we'll put some tax first. We may have to charge them tax. Let's make that, say, a 7.2 field. Who knows how much tax would be? That could be a lot. And we'll put shipping. Shipping charges. Shipping and handling. We'll just call it shipping. And that we'll make that well, this shipping isn't ever going to be that much money. Shoot, let's make a shipping 6.2. It doesn't really matter. As a matter of fact, I try and make all the amounts the same. Usually I make them all 8.2s, and they line up nice and easily. But I'm trying to show you that you can change sizes of fields that don't need quite as much room in them. Okay, let me just think. Is there anything else if we do this way? Yeah, now we want to put total, wouldn't we? Total. And we'll make that an 8.2. And also on invoices, you may want to take, payment and apply it to an invoice. So just to keep things in a nice orderly way, we will say take payments. Payment. Did they make us a payment? Again, this is going to be one single payment per invoice. We'll assume that they're going to pay us all in one shot. They may not do that, but let's see how it works. Okay, I think that's about all we really need on an invoice form to start with. There are things we could add, and this will grow a little bit each time. I'm going to change one thing around here. No, I'm not. I'm pretty happy with it the way it is. Let me think about this. Yeah, this is fine. Okay, I'm going to press escape, escape. I'm going to press X, and now I'm going to create a default screen, but pretty sure not all of it's going to fit on my screen. Yep, it says only the first 54 fields could fit on my screen. Don't know what that means yet, But at any rate, I've defined the file, and in the next chapter, the next lesson, the next record, I'm going to show you how to define the screen for this invoice.